The blue-green neon lights of the last galactic taproom flickered against the metallic surfaces, casting alien shadows across the various patrons hunched over their drinks. Located on the very edge of the Omega Galaxy, this establishment had become a melting pot for interspecies communication, trade, and occasionally, the kind of secrets that could topple star systems. In the corner booth sat Dr. Zane Morris, nursing a glowing azure drink that occasionally emitted a soft glor sound when disturbed. The renowned planetary dentist, known throughout the Rachis star system as the Tooth Warden, looked particularly exhausted tonight. His normally alert eyes were heavy-lidded, the result of a 12-hour nanocrown implant surgery on a dignitary from the SETI Prime Quadrant. "Another glor juice," he muttered to the hovering service drone, its translucent appendages already preparing another concoction. The drone's display panel flashed in multi-dimensional language symbols that roughly translated to "heavy day fixing tooth bones." Zane managed a weak smile. Something like that. He ran a hand through his silver-streaked hair, a trait common to those from the Rachis system, where radiation levels caused premature graying among the human population. "Nanocrowns are delicate work. 1 micron too deep, and you're frying nerve endings instead of sealing them." The drone bobbed in what appeared to be understanding before floating away to serve a trio of Loxians, their forearm gesticulations suggesting a heated debate about interstellar trade routes. It had been nearly 250 years since the intergalactic revolution had established peace across most major star systems, creating unprecedented opportunity for those with specialized skills. Dental expertise had become unexpectedly valuable in this new era, as species intermingling led to novel dietary challenges and a renaissance in cosmetic enhancement. Zane had capitalized on this, building a reputation for handling even the most unusual anatomical configurations. His reverie was interrupted by the distinctive shwee sound of the bar's entrance sliding open. Normally, he wouldn't have bothered looking up. The taproom saw dozens of unique species every hour, but the collective hush that fell over the establishment caught his attention. Conversations paused mid-sentence. A Jovian merchant even let his gravitational stabilizer slip, causing his drink to float momentarily before crashing back to the table. Through the entrance stumbled the most unusual pair Zane had seen in his 15 years of galactic travel. A small, humanoid child, clearly of Akoran descent with their characteristic iridescent skin and large, luminous eyes, was carefully guiding what appeared to be a miniature dragon. The creature stood barely knee-high to the child, its scales shifting between crimson and deep violet, with occasional flashes of gold when the light caught them at certain angles. But what was most striking was the dragon's pained expression and the awkward angle at which it held its jaw. "Please!" the child called out, voice cracking with emotion. "Is there a doctor? A dentist? Anyone?" Her eyes scanned the room desperately. "Luvi is hurting. Bad tooth. Very bad." The dragon, Luvi, apparently, let out a small whimper that sent wisps of smoke curling from its nostrils. The crowd instinctively backed away, even in miniature form. Dragons were notoriously unpredictable when in pain. Zane found himself standing before he'd made a conscious decision to move. "I'm a dentist," he said, keeping his voice calm and steady. "Specialized in multi-species dentistry." The child's eyes widened with hope as she turned toward him. "Can you help? Luvi's tooth is very sick. I'm Tessa. I found Luvi 3 moon cycles ago." As Zane approached cautiously, he found himself struggling to process what he was seeing. The creature before him matched every description he'd ever read of a Falroxian dragon, a species believed extinct for millennia. The distinctive ridge patterns along the spine, the ternary eye structure, the heat-radiating scale formations, all textbook Falroxian characteristics. "This can't be," he murmured, kneeling to examine the creature more closely. Luvi recoiled slightly, a thin plume of flame escaping its mouth as it winced in pain. Tessa quickly placed her hand on the dragon's neck, and Zane observed a subtle change in the creature's demeanor, a calming effect that suggested some form of empathetic link, another Akoran trait. "Your tooth is sick," she whispered to the dragon. "I'm going to pull it out for you, little dragon. This nice man will help." The innocent declaration sent a ripple of whispers through the bar. Everyone knew the significance of a living Falroxian dragon. Everyone knew what certain corporations would pay, or do, to acquire one. "We need to move quickly," Zane said, his professional instincts overriding his astonishment. "I have a mobile dental pod just off the main bar." He glanced around, suddenly aware of how many eyes were watching. How many communication devices might already be transmitting their location. "Tessa, bring Luvi this way, carefully." As they made their way across the bar, Zane tapped a discrete sequence on his wrist communicator, activating the privacy shields on his dental pod. It wasn't much, designed mainly to protect patient confidentiality rather than repel a corporate extraction team, but it might buy them some time. The pod door slid open with a soft hiss, revealing a compact but comprehensive dental workspace. Equipment designed to accommodate various species' anatomies hung from articulated arms, while diagnostic screens lined the walls. Zane had modified the standard unit considerably, expanding its capabilities far beyond manufacturer specifications. "Set Luvi on the adjustable platform," he instructed Tessa, already pulling up holographic references on Falroxian dental anatomy from ancient texts. "I need to understand what we're dealing with." Tessa helped the reluctant dragon onto the platform, maintaining physical contact the entire time. "It's the big tooth. Here." She pointed to the upper left side of Luvi's mouth. "Makes eating hurt. Makes sleeping hard." Zane activated the X-nanoscanner, its particle beam harmlessly penetrating the dragon's jaw structure to create a three-dimensional model. What he saw made him inhale sharply. "It's a fractured fang, primary feeding apparatus. The crack extends deep into the pulp chamber." He zoomed in on the holographic display. "See this dark area? That's infection beginning to set in, if left untreated." His explanation was interrupted by an urgent ping from his communicator. The message glowed in ominous red. "Corpodont Inc. Alert. Unauthorized possession of proprietary biological asset detected. Falroxian specimen registered to Corpodont Holdings. Provide location data immediately or face automatic identification and seizure. Compliance deadline, 15 minutes. Zane's stomach tightened. Corpodont Inc., the galaxy's largest dental and biological materials corporation. They had built their fortune on the extinction of the Falroxians, harvesting their fangs for the unique, biocompatible alloys they contained. Their lobbying had even secured them legal rights to any Falroxian biological materials discovered, under the presumption that none remained alive. "We don't have much time," he said, closing the message. "Corpodont knows something's here. They'll track us soon." Tessa's eyes widened with fear. "They want Luvi, for teeth." "For everything," Zane replied grimly, already preparing his instruments. "Falroxian dragons aren't just rare. They were thought extinct. The biological compounds in their bodies are worth more than most planetary treasuries." He hesitated, weighing his options. The ethical choice was clear. Treat the dragon, protect the child. But crossing Corpodont meant potentially losing his license, his livelihood, perhaps even his freedom. They had representatives on every regulatory board in the galaxy. As if sensing his hesitation, Tessa looked up at him with pleading eyes. "Please, Doctor. Luvi hurts. Luvi is my friend." The dragon whimpered softly, and Zane made his decision. "We need to work fast. I'll extract the fractured fang and implant a temporary prosthetic to maintain structural integrity. First, we need to stabilize and sedate." This presented its own challenge. Falroxian physiology was poorly documented, And what little information existed was centuries old. Conventional sedatives might prove ineffective or even fatal. Tessa, you have an empathetic link with Luvi, don't you? That's an Akoran ability. The girl nodded solemnly. I feel what Luvi feels. Sometimes I see through Luvi's eyes. Good. We'll use that connection. I need you to help keep Luvi calm while I administer a mild nanosedative. It won't be enough on its own, but with your empathetic support. A soft knock at the pod door froze them both. Zane motioned for Tessa to keep Luvi quiet as he approached the entrance cautiously. The door slid open just enough to reveal a slender woman with striking silver-white hair and eyes that seemed to shift color with each blink. Dr. Zane Morrish? She whispered, glancing nervously over her shoulder. I'm Dr. Arya Norin, dental archaeologist, and a member of Preserve the Myth. Zane recognized the name of the underground conservation movement. Scientists and activists dedicated to protecting endangered species across the galaxy, often in direct opposition to corporate interests. We've detected the Falroxian life signature, she continued hurriedly. Corpodont has too. They've dispatched an extraction team. You need to let us help you move the dragon immediately. I can't, Zane replied, keeping his voice low. The dragon has a severe dental infection that needs treatment now. Moving it would risk spreading the infection to vital organs. Dr. Arya's expression tightened. Corpodont won't care about infection. They'll just want the biological material. The dragon will be worth more to them dead than alive. Then help me buy time for treatment, Zane countered. Once I've stabilized the condition, we can discuss evacuation options. After a moment's hesitation, Dr. Arya nodded. My team can create interference patterns to confuse their dragon scan technology, but it won't hold for long. You have perhaps 20 minutes before they narrow the location. I'll make it work, Zane promised, as the door slid shut again. He turned back to Tessa and Luvi, his mind racing through treatment protocols and escape scenarios simultaneously. Okay, new plan. We're going to move very quickly, he explained, gathering specialized instruments. Tessa, I need you to maintain constant contact with Luvi. Channel calming thoughts, peaceful images. Can you do that? The girl nodded, her small hand already stroking the dragon's neck scales in a rhythmic pattern that seemed to soothe the creature. Zane programmed the nanosedative dispenser, adjusting the molecular structure based on what little data he had on Falroxian biology. This is a modified formula that should work with Luvi's metabolism. It will be delivered as a fine mist that's absorbed through the scales. As the sedative began to take effect, Zane positioned the thermal-resistant instruments. Falroxian body temperature ran exceedingly hot, a natural byproduct of their fire-producing biology. Standard dental tools would melt at such temperatures. The X-Nano shows the fracture extends 4.7 millimeters into the pulp chamber, he narrated, as much for his own benefit as for Tessa's. I'll need to extract the entire fang and replace it with a temporary Titan Xeon alloy implant until the infection clears. Luvi's eyes had grown heavy, though they never fully closed. Another Falroxian trait. The sedative was working, but the dragon remained partially aware. Zane carefully positioned the extraction apparatus, a complex assembly of heat shields and precision grips. Tessa, there will be a moment of sharp pain when I remove the fang. I need you to help Luvi understand that it's necessary for healing. The girl closed her eyes, her expression intense with concentration. Luvi understands. Luvi is brave. Zane activated the extraction sequence. The thermal drill began its careful work, separating the fang from surrounding tissue while cauterizing blood vessels simultaneously. The pod, filled with the distinct smell of superheated metal and the faint, sweet spice scent that emanated from Falroxian scales. Just as he was about to complete the extraction, a thunderous boom shook the entire pod. Warning lights flashed across the control panels. Proximity alert, the system announced in its calm, artificial voice. Armed individuals detected. Hostile intent probable. Corpodont's extraction team had arrived. We need to finish now, Zane said, increasing the drill's precision settings to maximum. Tessa, keep Luvi absolutely still. Another impact rocked the pod, this one accompanied by the distinctive whine of electromagnetic cutting tools. They were attempting to force entry. Zane completed the extraction with a final, careful motion. The fractured fang came free, revealing the angry infection beneath. Working with practiced efficiency, he cleaned the socket and prepared the Titan Xeon implant. Almost there, he muttered, sweat beading on his forehead as the sounds of forced entry grew louder. Just need to secure the... The pod door exploded inward in a shower of sparks and twisted metal. Through the smoke stepped a tall, imposing figure in gleaming corporate armor. The Corpodont logo emblazoned across the chest piece. Behind him, similarly outfitted soldiers took up positions, weapons trained on the dental platform. By authority of Galactic Trade Regulation 7290, I am requisitioning this Falroxian specimen, announced the leader, his voice mechanically enhanced through his helmet. Stand away from the asset, Dr. Moorish. Zane recognized the voice immediately. Malcor Cinda, Corpodont's notorious security director. His reputation for ruthless efficiency was well known throughout the galaxy. This is a medical procedure in progress, Zane replied, continuing to work on the implant while positioning himself between the weapons and his patients. Interference would constitute a violation of the Intergalactic Medical Ethics Code. Malcor laughed, the sound distorted through his helmet. Medical ethics don't apply to extinct species. Doctor, they apply to sentient beings with legal status. He raised his weapon. Last warning, step away. Tessa, who had been silent until now, suddenly stood up. Luvi is my friend, you can't take my friend. The movement startled the already agitated dragon. Despite the sedative, Luvi reared up, emitting a frightened hiss, followed by a jet of flame that caught one of the Corpodont guards. The man screamed, batting at his smoldering armor as he stumbled backward. Weapons free! Shouted Malcor, taking aim at the dragon. Everything happened at once. Zane lunged forward, completing the implant attachment in one desperate motion. Tessa threw herself protectively over Luvi, and from somewhere outside the pod, a cascade of electrical interference suddenly washed over them, causing the Corpodont weapons to sputter and misfire. Preserve the myth strikes again, came Dr. Arya's voice over the pod's communication system. Get the dragon out now, southeast corridor, emergency exit B. Malcor bellowed in rage as his sophisticated targeting systems malfunctioned. Manual override, shoot them! Zane scooped up the sedated dragon in one arm and grabbed Tessa with his free hand. Run, he commanded, heading for the mangled pod door. As they bolted through, electromagnetic pulses continued to disrupt the Corpodont equipment, buying them precious seconds. The southeast corridor was dimly lit and narrower than Zane remembered. They raced down it, the sounds of pursuit growing louder behind them. Luvi was beginning to stir, the dragon's body temperature rising as the sedative wore off. Tessa, keep Luvi calm, Zane gasped as they ran. If those flames go off in this confined space. The girl nodded, whispering soothing words to the dragon even as they fled. At the end of the corridor, a small green light indicated emergency exit B. As they approached, the door slid open to reveal Dr. Arya and two others wearing the subtle insignia of Preserve the Myth. Quickly, she urged, ushering them through. Our shuttle is waiting. We've got approximately 3 minutes before their systems recalibrate. They emerged onto a secondary landing platform where a small, unmarked vessel hummed quietly, its engines already primed for departure. As they boarded, Zane heard the unmistakable sound of Corpodont reinforcements approaching. We need to check the implant, he said urgently, as the shuttle door sealed behind them. If it shifts during takeoff, it could cause serious damage. Dr. Arya nodded, leading them to a small medical bay near the rear of the shuttle. "We've equipped this vessel with basic dental facilities. The Falroxian is our priority." As the shuttle lifted off, banking sharply to avoid detection, Zane examined his handiwork. The Titan Xeon implant was holding perfectly, already integrating with the surrounding tissue thanks to its biocompatible properties. "The infection will need continued treatment," he explained to Tessa, who hadn't left Luvy's side. "But the worst of the pain should be gone now." As if to confirm his assessment, Luvy made a soft purring sound, nuzzling against Tessa's hand. "Where are we going?" the girl asked, looking up at Dr. Arya. "Voltrox Prime," the dental archaeologist replied. "It's a remote, largely uninhabited planet on the outer rim. One of the few places Corpodont has no scanning presence. The environment there is similar to the Falroxian dragon's original habitat." Zane felt a mixture of relief and uncertainty. He'd just thrown away years of careful professional reputation building to save a creature he'd thought mythical until hours ago. There would be consequences. Corpodont would see to that. "Will you come with us, Dr. Morik?" Dr. Arya asked, seemingly reading his thoughts. "Your dental expertise would be invaluable to our conservation efforts. And after today, I suspect your options in Corpodont-controlled space may be limited." Before he could answer, the shuttle pilot's voice came over the intercom. "Corpodont vessels detected in pursuit. Initiating evasive maneuvers and preparing for hyperjump." The shuttle lurched, artificial gravity compensators struggling to keep up with the sudden changes in direction. In the medical bay, instruments clattered to the floor as the ship banked hard to starboard. "They're not giving up easily," one of Dr. Arya's colleagues observed grimly. "That's a Mark 7 pursuit craft. Military grade." Zane secured Luvy to the examination table, ensuring the dragon wouldn't be injured during the evasive maneuvers. "I thought Corpodont was just a dental corporation," he said. "Since when do they have military-grade ships?" "Since they realized the profit potential in controlled extinction," Dr. Arya replied bitterly. "They've been systematically eliminating species with valuable biological components for decades, then patenting the synthetic alternatives. It's more profitable to control the only supply than to compete in an open market." A violent impact rocked the shuttle, throwing them all against the restraint webbing. "Direct hit to our rear deflectors," announced the pilot. "Shields at 60%. We need to jump now, or we won't have enough power to make the transition." "Do it!" ordered Dr. Arya. The familiar disorientation of hyperspace transition washed over them as the stars outside elongated into streaks of light. Corpodont's pursuit craft would be unable to follow until they calculated the same jump coordinates, buying them precious time. As the initial turbulence of the jump subsided, Zane turned his attention back to Luvy. The dragon appeared remarkably calm despite the chaos, its ternary eyes focused intently on Tessa. "The empathetic link you share," he said to the girl. "It's extraordinarily strong. Most Akorans require years of training to establish such connections, especially cross-species." Tessa shrugged, her iridescent skin shimmering slightly in the medical bay's lights. "Luvy needed me. I needed Luvy. It was easy." "Where did you find him?" Dr. Arya asked gently. "In the ruins on Betal Minor. I was hiding there after—" Tessa trailed off, her young face suddenly solemn. "After the raids, my family was taken by resource hunters. I was alone for many moon cycles until I heard Luvy crying from inside a sealed chamber. The door had Corpodont markings." Dr. Arya exchanged a significant look with Zane. "They were keeping him as a research specimen, probably extracting biological samples for their laboratories." The thought made Zane's professional indignation flare. Using sentient creatures as mere biological resources violated every ethical principle he'd sworn to uphold. "Luvy was hurt and scared," Tessa continued, stroking the dragon's scales. "The tooth was already cracked then. It got worse over time. You did the right thing bringing him to the tap room," Zane assured her. Though I admit, I never expected to perform emergency dental surgery on a Falroxian dragon while being shot at. A small smile crossed Tessa's face. Luvi likes you. Says your hands are gentle. The casual revelation that she could communicate this specifically with the dragon surprised Zane. The empathetic link was even more developed than he'd thought. The shuttle emerged from hyperspace with a subtle shudder, revealing the massive gas giant Voltrox and its multiple moons through the viewports. Voltrox Prime, the largest moon, hung like a jewel against the planet's swirling atmosphere, predominantly green with stretches of rust-colored terrain. We'll land at the northern settlement, Dr. Arya explained. It's small, just a few dozen researchers and conservationists, but well hidden from orbital scans. As they began their descent, Zane found himself contemplating his options. His practice on Omega Station was certainly compromised now. Corpodont's influence meant he'd be blacklisted throughout much of civilized space. Yet, strangely, he felt lighter than he had in years. The settlement came into view, a collection of low, dome-shaped structures, partially embedded in the rocky landscape, designed to minimize detection. As they touched down on a small landing pad, Zane could see several figures emerging to greet them. Welcome to Haven, Dr. Arya said as the shuttle powered down. It's not much, but it's one of the few places in the galaxy where Corpodont doesn't have eyes and ears. They disembarked carefully, Zane carrying the still drowsy Luvi, while Tessa walked alongside, maintaining their connection. The air of Voltrox Prime was thinner than standard, but rich in oxygen, giving it a sweet, invigorating quality. A tall, distinguished-looking woman with intricate facial markings approached them. I'm Dr. Alara Voss, lead xenobiologist. Is this truly a Falroxian? Her voice held barely contained excitement. It is, confirmed Dr. Arya. And thanks to Dr. Morrish here, a healthier one than when we found him. Dental emergency. Dr. Alara's eyes widened as she examined Luvi from a respectful distance. The thermal signature, the scale patterns. It's exactly as described in the ancient texts. This is extraordinary. She looked at Zane with newfound respect. You performed dental surgery on a Falroxian. The thermal requirements alone would melt standard equipment. I had to improvise, Zane admitted. And we were interrupted halfway through by Corpodont's extraction team. A murmur ran through the gathered conservationists at the corporation's name. They tracked you? Dr. Alara asked sharply. Temporarily, Dr. Arya assured her. We lost them in hyperspace, but they know a Falroxian exists now. They'll be looking everywhere. Dr. Alara nodded grimly. Then we need to move quickly. The less anyone knows about the dragon's location, the better. She gestured toward one of the larger domes. We have habitat space prepared. It's not ideal, but it's thermally regulated to match what we believe were Falroxian preferred conditions. As they walked toward the habitat, Zane explained the dental procedure to Dr. Alara, detailing the infection and the Titan Xeon implant. It's a temporary solution. In about 3 lunar cycles, the infection should be clear enough to attempt a permanent replacement, possibly a regrowth stimulation if Falroxians share the dental regenerative properties of other draconic species. You speak as if you'll be here to perform that procedure, Dr. Alara observed with a raised eyebrow. Zane hesitated. He hadn't consciously made that decision yet, but found himself nodding. I'm not sure I have many other options at this point. Corpodont isn't known for forgiveness. We could certainly use someone with your expertise, she admitted. Most of our medical staff are focused on general xenobiology, rather than specialized care. The habitat dome was impressive, a carefully constructed environment that mimicked a volcanic highland ecosystem. Heat vents released controlled bursts of steam, maintaining a higher ambient temperature than the rest of the settlement. Rocky outcroppings provided natural shelter, while a small thermal pool bubbled in the center. Luvi, now fully awake, perked up visibly at the sight. The dragon cautiously sniffed the air, then looked questioningly at Tessa. "It's safe," the girl assured him. "It's like your old home." With a sudden burst of energy that surprised everyone, Luvi bounded into the habitat, investigating each feature with obvious delight. When he reached the thermal pool, he dipped a cautious claw into the water, then submerged himself completely with a satisfied chirr. "That's the first time I've seen him truly relaxed," Tessa said, her face glowing with happiness. "The environment is stimulating natural behaviors," Dr. Alara observed, making notes on a holographic pad. "This is incredible data. No one has observed Falroxian behavior firsthand in centuries." While the others watched Luvi explore, Dr. Arya drew Zane aside. "We need to discuss security measures. Corpodont won't give up easily, especially now that they've confirmed a living Falroxian exists." "What about the Titan Xeon implant?" Zane asked. "Could they track it?" "Unlikely. The alloy itself is common enough. It's the specific biocompatible formatting that makes it valuable, and that's integrated at the molecular level. It won't register on standard scans." They were interrupted by an excited call from Tessa. "Look! Luvi is doing something!" The dragon had climbed onto one of the higher rock formations and was systematically heating the stone with carefully controlled bursts of flame. After each burst, he would pause, seemingly assessing the temperature before applying more heat. "Nesting behavior," Dr. Alara whispered in awe. "He's creating a heat-optimized resting spot. This confirms theories that have been speculative for generations." As the day progressed into evening, plans were made for longer-term arrangements. Tessa would stay with Luvi, her empathetic connection deemed too valuable to separate. Zane agreed to remain at least until the dragon's dental treatment was complete, though privately, he was already considering a more permanent arrangement. His skills could make a real difference here, away from the corporate-dominated central systems. Later that night, after Tessa had fallen asleep in a small chamber adjacent to Luvi's habitat, Zane found himself standing alone on an observation platform, looking out over the Voltroxian landscape. The gas giant Voltrox dominated the sky, its swirling clouds illuminating the terrain in shades of emerald and amber. "Quite a view, isn't it?" Dr. Arya joined him, offering a container of what smelled like the same glor juice he'd been drinking at the taproom. Was it only yesterday? It seemed like a lifetime ago. "It's not what I expected to be seeing tonight," he admitted, accepting the drink. "This morning I was just a dentist with a thriving practice and a comfortable reputation. And now, you're a renegade dentist hiding from corporate hitmen on a remote moon with the last known Falroxian dragon." She smiled. "Life takes unexpected turns." "That it does." He sipped the glor juice, watching as a meteor streaked across the massive face of Voltrox. "What happens now? Corpodont won't simply forget about Luvi." "No, they won't. But they also can't openly admit they're hunting a living Falroxian. It would raise too many questions about how they acquired exclusive rights to extinct biological materials." She leaned against the railing. "We have time to plan our next steps. The Preserve the Myth network extends further than Corpodont realizes." "And Luvi, what's the long-term plan for him?" Dr. Arya's expression turned thoughtful. "That's the question, isn't it? Is he truly the last of his kind, or could there be others? The ancient texts speak of Falroxians being highly adaptable, capable of surviving in hidden pockets of suitable habitat. The implications were staggering. If Luvi wasn't alone, if there were other Falroxians surviving in remote regions, it could change everything they thought they knew about species extinction and resilience. For now, she continued, we focus on keeping him safe and healthy, learning everything we can. Your dental expertise will be crucial to that. Zane nodded, already mentally cataloging the equipment he would need for Luvi's continued care. The Titan Xeon implant should hold well, but we'll need to monitor for any signs of rejection or infection recurrence. They stood in companionable silence for a while, watching the ever-changing patterns in Voltrox's atmosphere. Finally, Dr. Arya spoke again. You know, there's a certain irony in all this. Corpodont built their empire on Falroxian extinction, marketing their special, dragon-derived dental compounds as the ultimate in biocompatible materials. Now, the very creature they claim to honor through their products could be their undoing. Justice has a peculiar sense of humor, Zane agreed. As they turned to head back to the settlement, his communicator chimed softly. It was an encoded message, the source untraceable. Opening it revealed only a few simple words. Dragon as well. Meet at Voltrox Desert in 3 days. The signature identifier showed it had come from Tessa, though how she had access to secure communication channels was a mystery. There was clearly more to the young Akoran than her innocent appearance suggested. Zane pocketed the communicator without mentioning the message to Dr. Arya. Some secrets, he was learning, were best kept close until their purpose revealed itself. Whatever awaited in the Voltrox Desert, he would face it when the time came. For now, he had a dragon's dental health to monitor, a new life to contemplate, and perhaps, just perhaps, a small role to play in changing the balance of power in the galaxy. As he glanced back one last time at the swirling giants in the sky, he couldn't help but smile at the strange twist of fate that had brought him here. From tooth warden to dragon dentist in the span of a day, life indeed took unexpected turns. In the habitat dome, Luvi slept peacefully on his heat-treated rock, the Titan Xeon implant gleaming softly in the low light, a small, metallic symbol of hope for a species thought lost to time. And beside him, Tessa's chest rose and fell in synchronized rhythm, their empathetic bond transcending even consciousness. Tomorrow would bring new challenges. Corpodont would not surrender easily. The future of the Falroxian species remained uncertain. But for tonight, in this moment, a tooth had been healed, a friendship had been forged, and a small corner of the universe felt just a little more right than it had before. And for a dentist from the Rachis system, that was more than enough.